Welcome to the Heen View, a podcast series which interviews a range of sport club representatives and leading professional sport club personnel during the COVID-19 shutdown period. We find out what these people are doing during the current health crisis with some of our most popular sports seasons postponed. I'm Mark Heenan, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Mark Stone. Now, Stoney, we've had a big flavour with, football and netball and a few other sports as well, but I suppose, we're starting to cross over into different seasons now. We're starting to look at our summer season now that the AFL Grand Final's wrapped up, and well done to Richmond, and believe it or not, our next guest is actually a Geelong supporter as well. But it's great to have a different type of guest and someone that has got an event coming up, and also we're going to talk a bit about men's health awareness.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a summer boy and brought up in the water, and our next guest will tell us all about why people take up water sports. Where we live down the Bellarine, Marco, it's probably a good time to bring a guest in from the Bellarine, possibly.
That's exactly right, Stoney. So our next guest was awarded life membership of the Ocean Grove Surf Lifesaving Club in 2017. He is a senior ski coach of the Ocean Grove Surf Lifesaving Club. He's been a club captain, a gear steward, a team steward. And look, he's a really popular volunteer and he's a long-time member of the club. I believe he was 13 when he joined the club, and he's had a long involvement with that club in the Ocean Grove Surf Lifesaving Club. But one of the reasons why we wanted to get him on is that we've got a ski paddling event that's coming up. It begins at Torquay's Fishermans Beach, which is the normal start point. It takes in Point Impossible and finishes at the side of the Barwon Heads Bridge. The 6th annual Impossible ski paddle event takes place on Saturday, November 14. He's also a 3-time competitor of the Coolangatta Gold, which is a prestigious event of surf lifesaving on the Gold Coast. He won a single ski in the 50 to 59-year-old age group at the Aussie Surf Lifesaving titles in Western Australia at Scarborough Beach in 2018. And in 2019, he was a He-Man, Superman man that took on the Molokai Challenge in Hawaii, which is like 53 kilometres. We welcome to the Heen View podcast, Ocean Grove Senior Surf Lifesaving Club Senior Ski Coach, Bill Strachan. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Mark.
How do you like that for a little rap?
Well, it didn't seem... Yeah, that was very good, Mark.
I must admit, for someone that your wealth and experience, that there's a lot of things that haven't been included in there, and we're going to touch on those things as well. But in a lot of ways, you are, what would you say? I like to go for a run at the beach down there, and I bumped into a bloke the other week, and they said to me, "Where's Bill?" And I said, "Do I know you?" You know what? I'm actually about to catch up with Bill very soon to go over this podcast. And it's like people are drawn to you. And I guess in some ways, this podcast is about what we're doing during COVID and how sports people are affected. We're going to get into the lighter side a bit later on, but you've had a health issue over the last sort of 6 to 12 months, and you've probably been going through that during COVID. And we're going to talk about the Impossible Ski event quite soon, the ski paddling event. But can you just explain and elaborate what the health issue that you've gone through in the last 6 to 12 months is?
I had prostate cancer, and which, because my father died of prostate cancer, I've been getting checked every year. My PSA level rose, then I had to have some biopsy. Things got much worse, which I was lucky because they got it very early. And then I've had my prostate out in the last 8 weeks. So that was my health issue, which just about started when second shutdown started, which in some ways, well, we couldn't do a lot then. So they gave me the opportunity to rest, and then we can start paddling again. With prostate cancer, particularly with us older gentlemen, we need to get checked once a year. So you make it after your birthday or something like that. If you just get checked every year, it's quite preventable, and it doesn't have to be a death sentence. And there's lots, you don't have to have your prostate out. There's a lot of different things your specialists can do. So it's really important we make sure everyone gets checked every year, and then everybody's health is much better.
Bill, great timing, because I'm actually going tomorrow to get mine checked. So great timing there, Hino. But I suppose as a summer boy, or a boy getting brought up by the water, why surf lifesaving, and was it water that drew you? I know you moved there when you were younger, but what is attracted to surf lifesaving for Bill Strachan?
Well, it's the community sport part of it as well. Also, because I had to stop playing football when I was quite young because of getting concussion too often, my parents stopped me playing football, which at the time I wasn't very happy about, but in hindsight was probably a very clever thing. When you're young, you don't listen to your parents, but usually they're right. So I took up paddling. Well, I was still playing football, but that's when I paddled much more. It's also a good sport. You don't get hurt. I've been hurt. I've had 3 injuries in 60 years. It's also a really good sport because you don't get thumped and bashed around. around. It's one of those sports that I probably didn't think at the time I call a life sport, because you can do it from 13 and there's still people paddling well into their 70s and 80s and enjoying the water. It's a sport that once you've mastered it, you can do. It's like our masters racing. You go to the national championships and they've got over 75s racing, and they're still out there racing, having fun. You do notice the speed drops off, but they're still having fun and they're still keeping fit. Plus, the surf club's got a very good community where you have people from a very young age to a very old age. And that's really important in the community, that you have both age groups together, because the young ones learn off the old ones and the old ones learn off the young ones, because it's not a closed door. I mean, I still learn things off the younger paddlers all the time, because if you're not an open book, you don't learn. That's one of the major good things about a surf club.
Mark Stone, if you ever, I know that you're a keen, you like to check out the indoor pool, and they're just opening up back in the environment with the indoor pools and aquatic centres. I know that you're a bit of a frequent visitor to Splashdown. So, you know, if this guy that's got a mustache, he's a good fella. I was going to say it's something else, but you might know that he surveys around the pool. So if you ever need some swimming tips, he might come in and talk to you.
No problem.
Now, Bill, why we wanted to get you on was to talk about this event. Now, the Impossible 18-kilometre course is happening on Saturday, November 14. Now, you know, I found out the other day that it can run the other way, and I know that you like the wind when it comes to paddling. So the start point of that course is at Torquay, Fishermans Beach, or Fishos as they call it. You know, it runs a line around, you know, the buoy at Point Impossible, takes in that, goes around the back of Brimley, and then, you know, finishes off at the side of the Barwon Heads Bridge. Now, firstly, can you ask me, will you be competing in this year's event? And if you're not competing, what attracts you to this event as a person? Because you've got some special people and you've got some great friendships outside the Surf Lifesaving Club at Ocean Grove that are involved in this event.
This is a really good event. It'll be extra special this year because it'll be the first paddling event we've had since COVID's opened up. It's been very good that the being on the 14th, our friends in Melbourne who we haven't seen will be able to come down and race because the restrictions come off on the 8th, which is a really good thing. The race is also good because there's very few local ocean ski races. There's basically only 3 at this point in Victoria. Hopefully there'll be more. Peter, who is the major runner of this, Peter Curry, has been doing this for 6 years. Peter and I race together against each other because he's at Jan Juck and I'm at Ocean Grove. And the community of surf lifesaving, although you may all race against each other, you're always there to help. And good thing about ocean ski racing, particularly the way Peter's got this set up, it doesn't matter what age group you're in, you're all in together and you all race. He will have some COVID rules, so we might have to be a little bit separated. And also being downwind, as we said, that can go from Torquay to Ocean Grove to Barwon Heads, or Barwon Heads to Ocean Grove. Sorry, from Barwon Heads to Torquay. Being downwind, it's great fun because it's like catching a wave the whole way. And you can do the 18Ks in about an hour and 16 minutes. It will be about the time the winner does it in if there's a reasonable wind, maybe a bit quicker. And it's a really well-run event. There's plenty of water safety and we're not very far offshore if anything goes wrong with anyone, which is a really good thing too. So it makes it really safe, which is a bit different doing the Malachi where you've got to have a boat with you. And it's good because a lot of our junior paddlers, that's the first LD or decent race they go in because it's close to home and we don't have to travel very far. There is one other race in the middle of the year, but this is really close to home. And often it's only the local people, but this year it'll be, from what Pete was telling me, he's getting a lot of inquiries from the Melbourne people because there hasn't been any racing and there's been no kayak racing all winter. So that's what's really good. Plus, it's always a good bit of banter afterwards. And, you know, this year we won't be able to congregate at the end, but usually there's a good bit of camaraderie at the end as well, which is always really important.
So do you go to the Barwon Heads pub when you've had that last stroke, or just someone buys the first pot across the road there?
Well, there has been some long debriefs across the road, but I don't think we'll be able to do that this year because we've all got to sit at a table, unfortunately, and we can't stand up and mill around each other as we were able to do in a couple of races we had in Western Australia this year, which is always good. And it's good because some of the older paddlers will give the younger ones tips, which is always good because as a coach, one of the things is that I'm always telling the kids something, and if it comes from somewhere else, often they'll pick that up quicker than if I tell them, which is really important because it's like being a parent. Sometimes when it comes from somewhere else, it's really good.
Bill, I've moved in the area. I'm a novice, and I go to the Ocean Grove Surf Lifesaving Club, and I say, I want to become a surf ski paddler. What do I need to do? How do I start? And what strength do I need to be able to become a good paddler?
Determination is probably the major strength, and because you're going to fall off because there's only 2 types of paddlers, those that have fallen off and those that are going to. We run in the winter for under 17s, we run a beginner's course for those, which we actually start in the lake or in the river at depends, because the surf can be a little bit dangerous first up. A good solid balance and being able to swim. Balance can be worked on from people of all ages. I know the younger ones pick it up quicker, but if you've got a good sense of balance and you've got plenty of determination. I mean, Amina, who was with us in 1 year, she picked up the ski paddling well enough to get a medal at the national championships, and she was pretty hard at it.
That's Amina McDonald. Hello to Amina out there. He's a good friend of Bill Strachan, and obviously, you've been training partners for a while, and particularly when you've gone to the Aussie Surf Lifesaving titles. Keep going.
Also, don't be perturbed, because it's not all about racing. There's a huge number of different ways of paddling, because we've got probably the most ideal setup in Australia, because we've got a very placid river, which makes it really easy to teach people. It's only a little bit dangerous with the tide, but if you get up by around there where the golf course is, it's quite safe, and it's an ideal place to start. And then we don't have a vicious beach most of the time. We've got a fairly soft entry. So as you're learning to catch waves there, it's most of the time we can get somewhere where it's not too demanding. We can move where it's more demanding so you can learn, but that's one of the major advantages. And that's one of the reasons I believe that we have a lot of junior ski paddlers, because they can be really, really successful. And it's all about having fun and catching waves, because we've got 8 new girls this year and 1 boy, which is really good. So it's not gender specific at all. You can be male, female, old or young. There's a huge paddling community. And with paddling, you don't always have to paddle in the surf. You can paddle a lot of other craft in the rivers, and it's basically making sure you come with a good fun attitude. You won't get abs, but you'll slowly get them if you keep paddling.
Now, Bill, when I was a young kid, I used to go to the beaches and see the nippers. So you get the nippers who join and then become surf ski paddlers after that? That's where they start? A lot
of people start as nippers and come through. In surf lifesaving, we're not allowed to teach you to paddle until you are 15. That is a national rule. So usually they'll go from the nippers, they into the junior part of the club, which from my oldies I used to call cadets, but that's the under 15s. And then once they turn 15 in that winter, we tend to grab them and put them on skis. And in the quiet time where they're not swimming 100 miles a week, we make sure they start. Yeah, they're pretty hardy people, because, they fall in the middle of winter, and it's not warm down here in the winter. But very quickly they'll get your balance, especially if we start in the river, because you don't keep getting bashed by the surf. Well, this year in some ways has been an absolute godsend. Because of COVID, and there's no cricket, no football, no netball, the kids have been spending so much more time down the beach, surfing, kayak paddling, surf ski paddling, and it's been a really good positive. And the other good thing is, because they were being schooled at home and school finished earlier and they didn't have to go on the bus, we actually had more time in the afternoon before it got dark. So in some ways, COVID was an absolute positive to help the next group. Not that COVID's a positive, but that was one of the good side effects for us, that the kids didn't have any formal training, but they could do more because they didn't have to spend that hour on the bus driving in and out of Geelong.
Now, Bill, we've got to think about what we've been doing during COVID as well. And I suppose probably is a connection between what you do with your work now that, you are working as a lifeguard, but also one of the reasons why we get people on the podcast is talk about what people are doing during COVID, what more time have they had to do during this period that they may have not otherwise had. But interesting with you, I suppose in some ways you're a public servant and you work with the council, but more importantly that you're helping other people during this period, because these aquatic centres weren't open for where you do your lifeguard work, and you were actually redeployed as a Meals on Wheels driver. Is that right?
Yes, that was really interesting. It was good to do something different. I looked at it as positive, because they didn't have enough Meals on Wheels for the older people. So I was in around Newtown and then out at West Geelong, and it was really good to go out and spend some time out there delivering meals to older people, having a chat to them. A lot of them, I suppose they are older compared to me, but a lot of them are pretty sprightly. And if you just have a little bit of time with them, which you do because you do, and you have a chat because you're sort of doing a welfare check at the same time, a lot of them had a lot of interesting stories, and really rewarding in a lot of ways to do that. Keeps you, that's that spread of age from the pool that did it. Really enjoyed it because it was just something different, and you got that human interaction, which was good too. It's a well set up service, and they work really hard.
Does your doctor believe that your fitness regime has helped your prostate issues, and it's got to be a good thing for that?
I would say that my recovery has been very, very quick, and I would say that me being fit certainly didn't hurt because, well, I talked to a few other people my age in the support group that we had, and some of them were taking a lot longer. I was very fortunate because mine was encapsulated, so it all came out in one go, and then I was clear, and I've been clear again. So I've been very fortunate that way, that I got onto it as quickly as I did and was quite diligent about it. It's something that will sneak up on you if you don't keep on top of it. No, I think my fitness regime has helped me on a number of occasions. occasion.
Now, Bill, during the off-season, someone who has been involved in the club like myself as a member, we were saddened by the news of Dave Renton passing away. And, you know, Mark Stone, you might realise this, that when you go to the club that you actually see the actual patrol tower, and it's actually got Dave Renton Patrol Tower. And the guy, you know, never missed a patrol session in terms of when he was on duty. And he's just a long-standing member of the club and very popular. He's actually a mozzie sprayer as well. That was one of his jobs that he had, and he's got a very supportive family. And that, what did his influence have on you as a person in surf lifesaving, not just from a club point of view, but just, you know, life skills wise? And tell me another quick one, what's been the biggest and most incredible rescue that you've been part of as a surf lifesaver?
Well, we'll do this in two parts. Well, Dave was probably my best friend, and I met Dave when I was 13 and he was about 25. I helped Dave build his house, and he had a huge influence on my paddling because he took me under his wing when I started paddling and helped me. He actually drove me to all the carnivals when I was 15, 16, and used to drive me home and back from training as well. And he was also best man at my wedding many times ago. His influence on life, one of his sayings, and was true, that every dog has his day and everyone will have their time in the sun. And if you look through life, that's incredibly true. And if you give up, you don't win. And that's true in life. You never quit and you always keep going. And he was an absolute icon to the club. He always looked after everyone, and he never had a bad word to say about anyone either, which was something that, you know, I knew when he wasn't happy, but he would never, ever run anyone down. And that was one of the most positive things. It didn't matter who you were, you're always welcome with him. And, you know, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is, I didn't know him at the time, but he was one of the unfortunate people that lost the raffle for Nashos, and so he had to go and do national service in Sydney, and on the weekends he used to hitchhike home from Sydney to do his patrols at the beach because there was no planes and all kinds of stuff back then. So he was a huge influence on me, and he's greatly missed. Probably, well, what I'm trying to think, I've done a number of rescues. I've done one this year already. The last one I did one with Dave just before the start of the season, where we weren't even able to use the ramp to get the IRB to the beach. The police actually had to help us carry it to the beach, and we had to have the police help us direct because the surf was that big you couldn't find the person in the IRB. So we used the police to direct us by radio. The other probably big rescue I did was when I was 15. Shark cat flipped at the Bommy at 13th Beach, and I paddled out. The police came and grabbed me because I put the boy in the back of the divvy van. We went round and picked off kids off the boat and brought them back to the beach, and then the fishermen came and dragged the boat in. Thought I was going to get into trouble that night because I got taken home in the back of a divvy van with the police car with my bicycle in the back because it was dark and they wouldn't let me ride home. Got back to my parents' place and I came in the police car, and I thought I was going to get into trouble then, but I got forgiven then when the policeman explained why I got taken home in the back of a divvy van. It's probably the only time I've been in the back of a divvy van, to be honest, but that was the front of the Herald Sun and the whole shebang that was. But
you always like the publicity, Bill Strachan.
No, I don't know about that.
I'm just staring.
Yeah, I know you're team. Yes.
Have you ever seen any sharks?
Yes, Yes, quite a few times. We've had sharks. We've been out catching the Bommy at the back, a big wave that breaks off the back at Ocean Grove, and we've had sharks between us and the beach. If you don't surf on dusk, if you see a lot of bait fish, stay away. And I think that it's more a matter of, I think you've got to be fairly unlucky, but you are in their environment and they do swim faster than you do. The other thing you've got to realise is that if you've got more chance of getting hit on your bicycle than you have of getting eaten by a shark. Well, we were up in Queensland at the aquarium, and they had a circle that you spun, and the chance of getting eaten by a shark was about this much, and the chance of getting hit on your bicycle riding was about that much. I think it's 1 in 7 to 1 in 1 for a shark.
Now, Bill, I've been trying to get a bit of goss on you as well, and it's interesting. Some of the humour is probably not fit for broadcasting, but you are a very masculine man, and I've always wondered, why is it that you never wear a wetsuit? Why is that? Because every time I see you, you're almost in that, I don't know if it's the triathlon sort of skins outfit or you've got the fluorescent vest on. I've never seen you in a wetsuit. Do you like to show off your masculinity, and why is that?
Well, one is that if you've got a steamer when you're paddling, puts pressure on the top of your shoulders and makes it harder to paddle. So you'll probably find that's one of the reasons reasons. Also, paddling in a wetsuit. I do wear a wetsuit when I go surfing, mate.
I never
And
said.
drive the duck. When you're paddling, you get fairly warm fairly quickly, and most of the time you'll overheat if you've got a wetsuit on fairly quickly. So that's probably why you very rarely see me in a wetsuit, because you get fairly warm. I also don't tend to feel the cold either. I never have. So, because I'll come home and say, why is the heater on? It's 8 degrees outside. We don't need the heater on. So, no, that's probably the major reason. I've got plenty of wetsuits. I don't wear them very often.
Just one quick one from me, Hino. I'm a life member of my football club, Bill.
Yes.
What does it mean to be a life member of the Ocean Grove Surf Lifesaving Club for you?
It's a recognition. We don't have a lot of life members. It takes a long time to be a life member at our club. To me, it's a recognition of all the things you do, and not that I really do them to become a life member, because a lot of life members at our club and probably at the football club do a lot of things that no one sees. And you do a lot of little things. And it's probably just a realisation that people have realised what you have done over the years. And, I mean, if you join a surf club to be a life member, there's no point in joining. You join to do as much as you can for the club that you can do, and hopefully leave the place in a better place when you leave than when you joined.
Yeah, well, I got to say that I actually met Bill not even just through the Surf Lifesaving Club, Mark Stone. And, you know, you had a saying that you would like to talk from anyone from the Prime Minister to the street cleaner. And it couldn't even be any more true when it comes to Bill, because, you know, having worked as a bit of a surf teacher, I got to meet Bill when he lost his job that he worked through Alcoa, and he was working through there. And he was just a really easy knockabout sort of bloke, and you could, you know, just talk to him about anything. And you just knew that he had just years and years of life experience that you could always tap onto, and particularly when you're out in the surf, Mark Stone. So I want to thank Bill Strachan for coming on the program. We know that a few things about Bill today. Well, we didn't know, maybe for the people out there, that he was born in Canada and he moved to Australia at a very young age. And on episode 20, Rob Malcolm, who was our guest from the Drysdale Cricket Club, I believe, was born on the same day in the same year. And he said that he did go to school with Bill Strachan. So interesting there. But Bill, we wanted to thank you for coming on the program. We hope that the Surf Lifesaving Club is able to get back to some sense of normality soon. And obviously, hopefully, we'll have some resumption of maybe some competition during this season.
Yeah, I think that's not too far away. There is some whispers in what they're going to try and set up for some competition for the kids, which is good, or the underage competitors, which should be good, because it's probably particularly hard for them down here, because they can see that the carnivals are being run in Queensland and they are running things in New South Wales, and obviously the kids or the younger ones from here can't go there at the moment. Hopefully that'll change, but there is the ability to soon start, and particularly the local pool will open shortly. It's not far away, and that'll give everyone the opportunity to do a bit more swimming with that, which would be good.
Well, thanks for coming on the Stoneheen View podcast for episode 30. Hit a bit of a milestone today, and you're our first surf lifesaving guest. So thanks for joining us and talking about your life experiences. And firstly, before we end, are you going to compete in the Impossible ski paddle event?
I don't think so.
You're going to be involved.
I've already marked down as an official.
Okay, well, hopefully they'll get out. There's some great drone footage as well of that event, so we'd like to see it. Mark Stone, what about an amazing guy, Bill Strachan, that's done a lot in surf lifesaving, but just done a lot in life. And you would know yourself, the men's awareness, or around men's health awareness, is a really important thing as you get to a certain age. And Bill's doing the right thing by some of the things that he's had to go through over the last 6 to 12 months.
A great ambassador for men's health, but also for the Surf Lifesaving Club. And anybody that knows Bill, float down near Dunes down there, and Bill's hovering around and say hello. He's always keen to have a chat to a lot of people. And it's been a great insight, Tino, and well done for organising it.
No worries. Thank you for coming on the Stoneheen View. You can check us out, the Stoneheen View, on Facebook. You can log on to Instagram. Even Bill's on Instagram as well. Our podcast is available on Apple Podcasts. The Stoneheen View's on Spotify. We'll be putting this episode up on their launching platform on the Podbean application. And also, too, if you want to write us a review, you can go onto Apple Podcasts and write us a review. Tell us what you think, what you like, what you didn't like. Stoneheen View is also available on 2 other platforms. They are also YouTube channel. And what's the other thing there, Mark Stone? Twitter. So check us out at Stoneheen View. So next week, we're going to be talking to an interesting guest, someone that is around bookmaking, and we've got a very popular athlete that's brought out a book. So we'll be talking to them soon next week. It's been episode 30. We've loved our chat with Bill Strachan. We will see you next week on the Stoneheen View podcast for episode 31. Bye for now, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.